Yo, what's good, Pip and the family? Today, I'm just going to be showing a weekly recap of what we did on this week. So today is June 30th. The market has just closed, and I'm going to be reviewing the pairs that we looked at in the last week and exactly what I took. So as you guys know, the pairs that I liked were in my blue list like this. And essentially, USDCHF never came down to give us that type of confirmation that I liked. I wanted to see us enter this zone. I noticed price started playing off of like order blocks over here, and I didn't like it. So I stayed away from that, and I waited for my confirmation in this zone. Very simple. It didn't come, so I didn't take it. Same thing with Euro USD. One thing I had noticed was we were in the zone that I liked, which it played off of here, but we didn't close under this wick. So I waited for either a closure under this wick or for price to just fully retrace and potentially take buys from down here. That, once again, I didn't really like much. Stayed away from it. Euro Australian dollar. You can see here we just barely missed the daily OB. So this is something that I'm going to be looking forward to next week. I still think that we should be getting some sort of pattern like this if this is going to sell off. And if it sells off without that pattern, it's okay. I'll always catch my setup on another day. Euro CAD. I was a little annoyed because I've been waiting a couple weeks for this one. So you can see here I had the hour 4 OB marked up because we were already in the daily OB. Price came into the daily OB. And so now I have two scenarios. Either price is going to make its way back down here and still give me this setup that I like, or price is going to close above this wick. And at that point, I'm going to be looking for something within here and try to refine that down and essentially look for this pattern through this area now. Those are my two scenarios. Now we have Euro NZD. You guys can see it was so close to the hour 4 order block. It literally barely missed it by like a hair. And so now I'm either waiting on, let's see this. I'm either waiting on a break over here or for price to tap that and then give me on the hour 4 its own confirmation. But regardless, even if we break here, I'm just going to be looking for more confirmations in this area here, something like that. And the confirmation I'm going to look for is going to be something like this. Right. So that is that. NZD-CHF. Finally, the pair that we traded this week. You guys can see. We were on the daily, right? And I saw, hey, it touched on the hour 1 OB over here. As you guys can see. This touched in the hour 1 refined, but it had barely wicked in. So I had it marked up, but I also knew because it barely wicked in, there's a very high chance that it gets swept. So even though it got swept, I still consider this valid. And what I did was I marked up my minute 5 OB to the left. So price actually came down to a minute 5 OB when we were over here. Price came into a minute 5 OB when we were over here. And it gave me my breaker structure. So technically I was supposed to use this level, and I called limits on this level. But this purple indicator shows me the range of Asia session. So in my head, it was very clear. Either we tap in during Asia session and I will hold, or we move out of Asia session and I'm going to wait for another confirmation because I understand that if we exit Asia session, the liquidity resting at the bottom could be likely to get swept. So I wanted to have some sort of confirmation whether it's going to play off that OB or if it's going to sweep the liquidity. So at this point here, I told everyone to delete the limits, and I kept moving on. Price comes down. You can see right here. Doesn't necessarily touch it, barely misses it, breaks structure above. That was very tempting, but I knew according to my rules it had to have touched in here before it broke above. So I still just stayed out of it. Here we are. It enters, it doesn't break structure, and it wicks right below. So right there, that was great. Now it's still in my minute 5 OB, which is what I liked. And then as you can see here, price closes there, gives me a clear break of structure right there. I called limits over here, and you can see we get tapped in, and now I'm holding this trade. I called this as a signal. And even one thing that I like is you can refine this down to this on the minute 1. Right, so our lowest candle was here. And so you could have had, off the minute 1 break over here, you could have set these limits. And to me, I was already in my position. I felt like this was a really aggressive one. But it just shows like this is the type of trade that I would have liked. And that right there would put you up 1 to 4 already. And we're still gonna be looking for that same TP. But on this one, I always like covering the daily stop. That way I feel like I'm not the stop loss hero, right? I'd rather be late and right than early and wrong. Although I usually am like pretty early and right when I trade. But very, very, very simple stuff right there. As you guys can see, I'm just going to play this out on the hour. I've been holding this trade, and it's running about a 1 to 4. And so you can see this was like a little scaling I had. And right now it's just about 1 to 4. Market's closed. And that's the only trade that I actually ended up taking this week. It's very nice. One thing that I do want to say is, like, I do plan on holding this. It might take me a couple days, could take me weeks, or I could get stopped out. But for me, it's either stop loss or take profit, and that's how I like to trade, unless I call otherwise, which is just very rare. Here we have the Australian dollar to the Japanese yen. You can see this gave us our 1 point. Never came into there, so nothing really to trade off there. German 30. This was like a breakout trade that I actually took on Dr. Dollar's stream. I didn't call it as a signal because it was more of like a joke trade because he was selling and I was like, dude, it's going to buy. And I actually hit massive drawdown, but then it came back up and it's moving upwards. I do believe that we should be able to push until this level here, which is what I'm holding for. I think I believe my TP is like right here on my MetaTrader. And afterwards, I noticed I could hold it a little higher, but I don't like to change any of my values after I enter the trade. Because I feel like something I heard Roy Dunya say was, and I'm not sure if he came up with this, but he said there are no good decisions made when you're in the market. So yeah, once I set my values, I leave them, and there's no changing them. It's what they are, or they're not going to be changed. US 30, I did not trade this week. Gold, I had this zone marked up, I didn't act off of it, and I want to show you guys there was a couple pairs I moved to the red list. And so you can see right here, I believe GBP CAD. No, it wasn't that. It was GBP CHF. I felt like it was just very choppy and I didn't like it. So I didn't want to risk it on there. GN, same thing. I felt like it was choppy, so I moved it away. And GA, this was one that I waited for. I waited for confirmation in this zone and it just instantly ran above and then came back down. So even though it like just barely wicked us above, I still wouldn't validate this. Like, this is invalid in my eyes. It's wicked above the zone I was looking for, so it is no longer valid as a trade to me. So that's the way I saw this. And so I instantly just moved it to there. And then I had NZD CAD, which I also waited for a trade. You look here on the hour 1. I waited for confirmation in this zone. I didn't get that confirmation. It melted below. You can even see, like, I had written right here, not in trade, waiting for confirmation. Melted below. Yeah, it's coming back up, but I don't care. It invalidated my zone. Another one was odd CAD. This one had given me confirmation here. Right here, right? It came up. It literally created an equal low, pushed up, broke that structure like I wanted. But same thing here. It exited Asia session. So once we did that, once we exited there, I told myself, hey, you know what? Let's just wait for another confirmation to make sure that we're not just early and get stopped out. So I had the limits called on this, and then I called to delete the limits. And so we deleted our limits. I waited for another confirmation, and as you can see, I just never got it. So price wicked under there. Right there was another loss I avoided. There were 3 losses I avoided this week just by waiting for confirmation, and then 1 win that we took by waiting for confirmation. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned with Pip and Dip as I have a ton of stuff in the works for you guys. And I'll see y'all in the next video.